Hey, Stu,
Tom.
Tactical Fitness Report 14. This is the 5 psychological phases of fitness, and you're starting us off with a high profile psychological image this morning, Stu.
Oh, you like that?
I love that shirt, man.
Yeah.
Highlighter
It's
yellow.
a highlighter yellow t-shirt.
For the folks that are listening on the podcast, you couldn't make up the color of the shirt that Stu has on.
Yeah. It's
It
embarrassing to
is.
wear sometimes. But I tell you what, it is definitely something you want to wear at 6 a.m. when you're running. And I just finished a run, and I think everybody could see me.
I imagine they could, Stu. In any condition, it's a gorgeous shirt. So how did that come about? Did you do this?
We have some trainers in other sections of the United States, and this one guy was doing a function, Heroes of Tomorrow function, and made some T-shirts. And the guy he got to make some T-shirts screwed up one, he said, and this was it. So he sent me this, Heroes of Tomorrow highlighter yellow T-shirt that is quite comfortable. It's just ugly as hell. So.
Well, it looks better on video than in person, I'm sure. All right, so Stu, this one is about the psychological phases of fitness, and this is a subject you and I talk about, and we've talked about recently ourselves personally. I'm going to read a couple of quotes that you have here about this subject because it's a really interesting subject. I have often used 5 phases to describe how people are going to feel about starting a fitness program, whether a beginner, an advanced athlete, or preparing for tactical fitness professions. I found that both the out-of-shape beginner and the advanced tactical athlete develop into their goals through this process. So when I was going back and reading this article, Stu, it struck me that I think this subject applies to not just the beginning athlete, the beginning person trying to do this, but I think it also applies to those like me. I had to take some time off for some reasons, and I got terribly out of shape. And now I'm going back through this process that you're helping me go back through. And I'm sitting square on phase 2 right now. So I'm not there yet because I'm still too heavy. I'm not strong enough. I don't have a good enough aerobic base. Right. So explain to us these 5 phases and take a moment to describe how you even constructed these in the first place.
Sure. This was one of my first articles I ever wrote. Back in the late 90s, I think I wrote this article. It was like when I was thinking about the whole process of how does someone go from A to B, then I realized you really need to go from A, B, C, D to E. And there's several phases through this journey, whether you're a beginner just wanting to lose weight, or you're a beginner who needs to lose weight, who needs to get in shape, who also wants to serve his country, and wants to serve his country in a special ops capacity. So there are several, phases that you have to go through to meet those goals. And whether your goal stops at point B or it stops at point E, it doesn't really matter. Fitness is a journey, and these are the 5 phases of that journey. However, I'm not really discussing a lot about the physiological changes that occur. These are more psychological, because it really doesn't matter what your goal is. It is a mental challenge to achieve that goal, not a physical one.
So Stu, so let me ask you about that. So that's really interesting. So your point up to me would be, it's still really a psychological barrier that I'm getting through. I haven't broken through that psychological barrier. It's not about, so when I said I'm not strong enough, I don't have a strong enough aerobic base and so forth, you would say that's not what we're really talking about here, Tom. What we're talking about is
well, not really. I mean, the fact that you're verbalizing it in that way, I would say, yeah, you are in phase 2 and you're doubting yourself. All of those things are doubtful words that you are saying.
Okay.
But what's getting you through your phase right now is you have a lifetime habit of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not uncommon for you to get up at 6 a.m. and go work out.
No.
I mean, these are things that are part of your life for decades. So that's not a challenge. So you getting from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 is not going to be a hard thing. You're just in that phase right now where you're just pissed that you're not where you used to be.
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly. That is the best description I can give of it, Stu, right there, man.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you know where you were a year ago,
Yeah.
and then now you're not.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very frustrating. And you have to treat yourself almost like a patient, and be patient and work yourself through this and just, healthfully move from one to the next and logically progress. And that's all you're doing right now. You're logically progressing from someone who is really good shape, got injured, and now you're rehabbing and you're trying to get back into shape again. So I would consider phase 2 almost like a rehab phase for you.
Interesting.
However, let's go through from the top.
Yeah, let's do the phases.
Right? So phase 1, like I said, this is a mental challenge. And phase 1 is all about the decision to do something. I'm deciding I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to go to college and get this new job. Whatever goal that is, I'm going to be a special ops warrior, be a fireman, policeman, SWAT team guy, whatever that, goal is. At some point you make a decision, that's what I want to do.
Yep.
And everything just kind of sings, you just feel it, right? This is like your calling in life. I am going to go do this. And you're highly motivated at this phase. And that's when, to be honest with you, that's when a lot of gyms take advantage of your motivation. And they sign you up for a whole year of, exercise, memberships, for their fitness center. And then, a month later, they never see you again. So that's where phase 2 just crushed that person. So you have to go into phase 1 being highly motivated, but realize that phase 2 is really about demotivation. You're kind of unmotivated and you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And my goal is to get people to just be real motivated and realize that doubtful session is going to occur and you're just not going to feel like working out. You're going to be sore. You're going to be achy. You're going to be tired of trying new foods that are less calories. All these things come into play. You want to go back and drink more wine and beer, with dinner, all these extra calories, but, there's, like I said, this is a mental challenge. And you have to realize that you have to doubt yourself just as quickly as you are, as motivated as you are. You have to go in there and say, I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is going to work out. And then get over it and just say, and just slap yourself and get over it. And then that phase is over. Because the last thing you want to do is like bust your hump, highly motivated for 2 months, and then just it comes crashing down and you just feel like quitting because everything hurts. You're tired of doing certain things, your body's tired of waking up early to exercise or staying up late to exercise, whatever those things are. Just realize that's part of the session and just get over it immediately. And you find yourself moving into phase 3 a lot easier because there comes a time when you quit doubting yourself and you say, you know what, I can do this, right? That's where I want you to be. I want you to kind of get over the whole doubting phase and say, you know what, I can do this. And that's where phase 3 comes into play, where now your psychological and your physiological are both kind of meeting in the same place.
Okay.
Right. So this is where the mind and body are starting to connect, where you have a natural tendency now to go from maybe eating crappy food to eating better food because your body's almost pulling you towards the salad bar, right? Instead of the dessert table, right? Yeah. You're starting to miss workouts, or I should say, you feel like crap after you miss a workout, right? Those type of things are starting to occur, or you feel guilty because you missed a workout. All those things are starting to come into play at phase 3. And that's a good phase to be in because you can stay in phase 3 for a very long time, right? And you stay in phase 3 for years. However, phase 4 is when you actually have an identity change and you are now associating yourself with a fit person, right? You now think of yourself, I am fit. I can do, if you put something in front of me, I can go do it. Oh, A weekend, we're going to just go do a Spartan race? Sure, let's go do it. Oh, we're going to do a 5K? We're going to do a 10K? Sure, let's go do it. I can do that. I'm in shape for that. So you've now starting to identify yourself as a fit person. You may even start having new relationships with other fit people. You've kind of found a home within this fitness world, right? And you're starting to go on this fitness journey. And this can go on for decades, right? You can just be in this phase for decades. And then, at phase 5 is kind of like the graduation phase where you almost started over again because you found a new idea, a new goal, a new journey. So, for instance, like I was a powerlifting football player for years, right? And I took a long time to build into that type of athlete. And then I joined the military, and I said, you know what? I need to kind of change that because I'm not going to be playing football, but I need to figure out something else. And so I started to become more military style fitness programming. Then I wanted to be a SEAL. So that had to change into almost like a triathlete style phase. So like I said, everybody has a journey, for maybe the civilian out there who's listening, maybe you have a history of athletics between high school and college and kind of let yourself go after college because you're not playing any sports anymore, but you're still eating like an athlete, right? And putting in a lot of calories. Maybe you've gained a little bit of weight. Now you got to lose it. So now you got to go through this phase. And then eventually you're going to get to phase 5 where you have to figure out what's next. Maybe I'm going to train for the, Marine Corps Marathon, in October, or I'm going to do a triathlon. Hey, you know what? I'm going to try to do an Ironman. Whatever those things are, you have that goal in front of you. And I think you'll start going through this phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. And that's where it really brings, the saying that fitness is a journey. It's not a destination. So
that makes a lot of sense.
It's a constant journey.
When you're talking about, you were talking about being in phase 3, this phase you call mind and body connect. And what struck me when I was hearing you describe it a minute ago was the fact that training has become broader now. When you and I first started training, we started in a much more specific and narrow way. And now I watched your evolution of training over time, and even the workouts you're now giving me are much broader in their scope. And I think it's the idea of this tactical fitness, that the practical implementation of fitness, why you do it's purpose driven, and that it requires a broad swath of capabilities.
Yeah, that's a really good point because it's almost turned into like this hybrid athlete where
Yes.
You're good at everything, but you're no longer trying to focus on one thing like your typical athlete.
Yes.
Right. So you're not worried about 100% strength and power because you're going to go run after you lift weights, or you're going to go swim after you run. You're not constantly worried about spending, 2.5 hours in the pool because you're a swimmer.
Yes.
Instead, you're going to spend half an hour to an hour in the weight room, then you're going to go run, then you're going to go swim. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think things have definitely evolved in a way to where we're less specific on one particular element of fitness and try to smartly incorporate all the elements of fitness into a program that is going to logically progress and not crush you because you're doing so much. Because some of these workouts take 2 hours to do.
Yeah.
But you're not lifting weights for a solid 2 hours, and you're not running for a solid 2 hours. You are healthfully mixing. It's almost like a triathlete. Triathletes probably get injured less than just about it. Definitely get injured less than a runner, right? Because they have 2 out of 3 of their events are non-impact on their body. So, I think you're able to spread it out a little bit and, not overdo one particular element of fitness where injuries can take place. You're still good at all of them, but like I said, you're just not great and focused on one of them.
Yeah. And what it allows you to do, though, and it also struck me as I heard you describing this when you said, you want to go do a Spartan race, let's just go do it. Right. And we're in that phase that my son Ken is in because he does that kind of thing. But you what allows you to do that, Stu, I think, is this broad tactical fitness like training, because it does give you enough of the mobility, the strength, the endurance in the various pieces to allow you to be able to do that without hurting yourself and being able to compete at fairly high levels doing it.
Yes, agreed.
One of the things...
Yeah, that's the evolution. I would say that's the evolution of fitness, and this is the evolution of how you go about achieving
it. Yeah. And one of the other things that struck me, again, thinking about this evolution of where fitness has come from and gone to, is, even before you and I met, I used to our longtime colleague, Scott Helvenston, created the workouts that I used for many, many years. And he had a situation where once a month, after you did 4 weeks of training, you had to take a week off. You had to stop and not work out for a week. I have to tell you, it was great for 3 days, but then after day 4, 5, and 6, man, you were just raring to get back. And I think that's when you're in that feeling like that, you're in phase 3. You're in this where your mind and body are connecting, and you're almost craving getting back at it for the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with days off. In fact, I think I used to, in my Maximum Fitness book, I had the same deal. You go for 12 weeks and you take 1 week off on week 15. So there were basically 4 12-week programs in Maximum Fitness, but it was a 52-week workout.
Yes.
So every quarter you had a week off.
Yes.
And that does help. I mean, a lot of people didn't really listen to it. They would say, do I really need to take a week off? I said, well, just take a light week as you transition into the next phase, or if you're going to repeat that cycle again, just go ahead and start off at week 1, because it's easy enough, to start off at that progression as opposed to keep going up and up and up and up year round. And that's where periodization all comes into as well.
Yeah. And I was not suggesting, that you do that. I was more making the point that that's one of the ways you can know you're in phase 3 when you have that kind of reaction, rather than you can't wait for the week off, right?
Yes. You know what I do instead of taking a week off now? And I will kind of listen to my body. So my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday workouts are typically pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then by Thursday, I know if I don't go easy on Thursday, my Friday and Saturday workouts are horrible. So what I'll do is I'll do like a workout where I'll go like 5 minutes of non-impact cardio and then 5 minutes of foam rolling and stretching.
Interesting.
And I repeat that 5 times. Right. And then I go back into the pool and I go through all the dynamic stretches that I did before I did the non-impact cardio, like butt kickers and Frankenstein walks and leg swings. And I do that in chest deep water after treading water for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I tell you what, that has saved me, especially during running cycles, has absolutely saved me from, hip pain, lower back pain, knee pain, all of those little things. So kind of listen to your body. And what I say now is take a mobility day off. So, and it's a really good mobility day, but you're still getting some cardio in there with those 5-minute sessions of cardio, swimming, vertical swimming and treading water with no hands, your heart's pumping. So it's not like you're doing nothing. It's just a really good non-impact day to listen to your joints and kind of keep the juices flowing and work out some of the pain issues. And then you'll find your Thursday and Friday, or your Friday and Saturday workouts are so much better.
So Stu, why are my Thursday weekouts hard? When I listen to this really nice water workout that you're just doing, but the ones you give me, those Thursday workouts don't look like that. Why is that, Stu?
Well, maybe you're just not there yet where you need an easy workout.
I'm not. Excellent point. Excellent point, buddy. No, that's for sure. So tell me, Stu, one of the things that I listen to what you're saying, and it strikes me that there are a couple of things there that we perhaps should look at in terms of future podcasts. One in particular is a lot of people like us have gotten into this point and are to the point where we cannot run. I'm not that way, but I have a friend who I was with on Monday, and like all of us, type A personalities, and he was a long runner, did a lot of running. He cannot run anymore because his joints are so damaged by it, and he has a little bit of arthritis. But he's struggling with how does he maintain his athleticism, and so we should explore these topics of it's wonderful if you have the capability and ability to cycle your way through and get there, but also this issue of what happens if you are to the point where your body, and you and I both know this, there are a lot of high mileage athletes out there.
Yes.
And what happens if you get to the point where your body won't allow you to do various things, and so you can't achieve quite what you want to achieve? But how do you maintain that fitness? We should go back and spend some time on that. And then the other thing that struck me when I was listening to you was this issue of mobility.
Oh, absolutely.
We should spend a podcast on this whole issue of mobility. How does mobility play into your fitness and your preparation of fitness? I know we talked about warming up and so forth, where you talked about mobility, but you use mobility much broader than that, just in the warm up. But you use it as a way to stay recovered, even during your workout week. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a fun thing. The cool thing about what these podcasts are bringing, and I think we talked about an idea that we have. Like, this is one of my very first articles I've ever done.
Yes.
And I think we can do one where it's an old article, and two, it's a brand new one that just came out. And just kind of go through back and forth like that. And I tell you what, I have over 800 of these articles floating around the internet. This will take us forever to go through all these things. And I'm still pumping out 3 a week.
I got to tell you, Stu, for those of us that are not natural writers, I mean, I had somebody at Columbia the other day tell me, you are a labored writer. You labor over your writing, meaning me. And I look at you, man, and you pump this stuff out, and it's so good. And I'm sitting there going, God, I wish I could write that fluidly.
I don't know if I must come by it naturally, because my dad's a journalist, newspaper publisher, and my mom's an English teacher. So they taught me how to write very well when I was a very young age. And they would edit my stuff, and it was bad. I was so glad when my teachers looked at my stuff, because it was like, by the time my parents were done with it, there was nothing wrong with it.
I bet not.
It was funny too. Sometimes I'd get a bad grade on something that I wrote, and they would be so pissed. My parents would be, how'd you get something wrong?
This is genetically and practically not correct, right? You can't do it.
There's no way you got something wrong. This paper's perfect. Yeah. So
for those of you that are listening to this on podcast, Stu went into the helicopter pilot mode. He threw his headphones and mic on. That's a good look, Stu. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? I was getting some background noise that was distracting me, and I was, I was afraid I was going to miss what you said.
Life noises, man. Life noises. Yes. Yeah. No issue. Well, look, how would somebody that wants to go back and look at this, Stu, and how do they incorporate? First of all, to find this, just Google the 5 psychological phases of fitness and append that with Stu Smith, and it'll pop up from military.com. But how does someone go at this, Stu? And how do they figure this out, incorporating these 5 psychological phases into their workouts?
Well, I think the reason why I started with the whole 5-phase thing is because I think a lot of people want the easy button and the immediate gratification of their workouts. And it just doesn't happen that way. You have to treat yourself like a beginner when you're a beginner. And I tell people all the time, like I told you, I said, you need to treat yourself like a beginner after, this injury and your rehab and all of that stuff. So just be nice to yourself and treat yourself like a beginner for 2 or 3 months. And that transition from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 is a lot smoother, and you're not going to hurt yourself, because the last thing you needed to do was to go back into the workouts that you were doing before your injury and just jump back in. That's how you're going to re-injure yourself. So, just everybody needs to have patience when it comes to fitness. And there's an old saying that says, give me a month and we can change the way you look. Give me a year and we'll change your life. So, and you got to think of it in the long term. And also think of it this way. If you think a year, my God, that's way too long. Think of it this way. Remember last year at this time, right? Remember last end of April? I mean, that was a blink.
Yeah.
And if you'd have started then, you'd be a year ahead right now.
Yeah.
If you'd have started today, a year from now, you're going to say, oh my God, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
So, start today, make a decision to do it, realize it's going to, have some realization in there that, this is going to be a challenge. Get over that challenge and the doubt and the negative, mentality. Just get over it. Have it go through your head, because it's going to happen anyway. Just realize that's part of the system. Get over it and move on. And then you're going to start associating yourself as a fit person and being able to see the results of what you're doing much quicker.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, that's all the time we have today, pal. This was Tactical Fitness Report number 14, the 5 psychological phases of fitness. Later, pal.
All right. Thank you, everybody.